So here's what buying a home in Chicago actually looked like right now. I had a couple strong buyers. They offered $100,000 over asking, 20% down, as is, full appraisal gap waiver, and they lost. Yes, you heard that right, 100 grand over, and they didn't even come close. That's the Chicago real estate market right now. So if you're trying to buy a home in Chicago and these bidding wars are wearing you down, this is the video for you. Because I'm going to show you how to avoid a bidding war in Chicago and not just survive one. I've been selling real estate on Chicago's north side for 24 years. I've been in more of these bidding wars that I can count on both sides of the table. So when I tell you Chicago market is brutal right now, I am not reading a headline off a screen. I'm living it every single day with my buyers. And in this video, I'm gonna walk you through how to avoid bidding wars in Chicago. Why the Chicago market got this competitive, why the usual advice to just offer more could be wrong, and then 2 strategies that I actually use to get my buyers into homes without a war. One of them got my buyers a house for $25,000 under asking price. Let's get into it. Now here's the thing, to beat a bidding war, you have to understand why it's happening in the first place. The Chicago real estate market on the north side right now is sitting at roughly 1 month to a month and a half of housing supply. A balanced market where buyers and sellers are on even footing, just to give you a context, is around 5 to 6 months. So we're at a quarter of that. So what does that mean for you if you're buying a home? It means that there are more buyers than homes, a lot more. When there are way more buyers than there are homes, you get exactly what you'd expect. Multiple offers, homes gone in days, prices pushed up fast. Neighborhoods like Lakeview, Lincoln Park, Andersonville, Uptown, Roscoe Village, they're moving within days of hitting the market, and a lot of them with 10, 15, 20 offers on the table. And I'm not even exaggerating. So that's a normal Tuesday for me right now. So what does everybody tell you to do when you're buying a home in Chicago right now? You need to offer more, waive your inspection, waive the appraisal gap, bigger down payment, escalate. And look, sometimes you absolutely have to. I want to buy her a home out of 20 offers doing exactly that. She offered 20% over asking, a full gap waiver as is, a 10-day close on a finance deal, and yes, it worked. But here's the trap. That game has a ceiling, and that ceiling is your wallet. Remember that couple who offered $100,000 over and still lost? They did everything right and got beat. Another couple I worked with offered $50,000 over with 40% down, clean terms, and also lost. You can do everything the experts tell you to do and still walk away with nothing. Except now you're emotionally wrecked. You talked yourself into waiving protections that you probably shouldn't have. So at some point, you have to ask a different question. Not how do I win this war? It's how do I not be in the war at all? And that brings me to my first strategy. It sounds backwards, so stay with me. You need to stop chasing the hot listings and start looking for the ones that have been sitting. Here's what I mean. In a market this fast, when a home sits longer than a neighborhood average, which is sometimes a week, that's a signal. And on the north side of Chicago right now, most homes go under contract in a couple of days. So when I see one that's been on the market 8, 10 days, or a little bit longer, with showings but no offers, my ears perk up and I get really excited. That's exactly what happened on one of my most recent deals. A home had been on the market for 8 days. I've showed it previously and I knew that there was a lot of activity. And in most markets, 8 days is absolutely nothing. But in this market, it told me something. So we went in, we made an offer, and we were able to negotiate. And my buyers got that home for $25,000 under asking price. Same neighborhood where my buyers offered $100,000 over and lost. Completely different strategy. Now here's the part that most buyers get wrong about this. Not every home that sits is a good deal. There's a difference between a good sitting home and a bad one, and knowing that difference is the whole game. A good one is sitting for a fixable reason. It was priced too high to start, photos were bad, it came on the market over a holiday weekend when nobody was looking, the listing agent didn't market it. None of those are problems with a house. They're problems with a listing. A bad one is sitting for a real reason, a layout that you can't fix, water in the basement, a location issue, like it backs up right up to something loud. That house is cheap because it should be cheap. So the skill here isn't just finding the homes that set. Anybody can do that. It's reading why they set. It's understanding why they set. And that right there is the difference between a deal and a money pit. And before I give you my second strategy, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Savic. I lived in Chicago for 27 years. I've been selling real estate here on the north side for 24 years. And if you're seriously thinking about buying a home in Chicago, I put together a Chicago home buying course that involves all the steps from getting pre-approved to negotiating. It is completely free. The link is in the description, so be sure to grab it before you leave. Now let me show you the strategy that almost nobody talks about. The best way to avoid a bidding war in Chicago is to look at homes most other buyers can't even see. A big chunk of homes on Chicago's north side are selling before they ever show up on the public search apps. They're being marketed quietly, agent to agent, in private status. So if you're sitting at home scrolling listings at night on Zillow, you could be missing 20 to 30% of what's actually available for sale. Now here's why that matters for the bidding war. And I'm gonna be straight with you because I'm not going to tell you there's zero competition on these homes. That happens, but it's rare. But you're still competing. But you're not competing with 20 buyers. You may be competing against a much smaller group, those other buyers whose agents are also plugged into these private listings. So instead of 20 offers, you may be up against 1, 2, or 3. And that is a completely different fight and definitely more winnable one. This is the agent that you work with matters. I'm a member of a private network group called Top Agent Network. It's the top 10% of Chicago agents sharing off-market listings and buyer needs with each other as well as sellers' needs. So my clients regularly get to see the homes before they hit the general public. And in Chicago real estate market with this little inventory, that is really a nice to have thing. So that is how you go from fighting 20 buyers to fighting maybe 2. Now, I want to be straight with you because I don't want to oversell this. These strategies don't work in every single situation. If your heart is set on one specific block in one specific neighborhood, you may still have to compete because you just can't manufacture a home where there isn't one, right? And the off-market approach only works if you're ready to move fast and if you're already pre-approved. So this is not magic. It's just a smarter way to buy a home in Chicago for buyers who are flexible enough to play it. But here's the one thing that I really want you to walk away with. Because after 24 years of doing this is the part that matters the most. The buyers who lose in Chicago right now aren't losing because they don't have enough money. Sometimes they do, I suppose. But I watched people with cash and 40% down lose home after home. They're losing because they're playing one game, the offer more game. And it's the only game that they know how to play. The buyers who win, the ones who actually get the home and don't overpay for it, they're playing a completely different game. They're not trying to be the loudest bidder in a room. They're trying to find a room nobody else walked into. That's the whole thing. The Chicago real estate market doesn't reward the biggest offer. It rewards the right strategy for the right house and the right buyer. And that is something that you can actually control. How hot the Chicago market really is, watch my Lincoln Square market update next. I show you a condo that sold for $125,000 over asking price. And I break down what's actually happening with prices right now. The picture is kind of similar in most Chicago Northside neighborhoods. And if you're planning a move in Chicago in the next 6 to 12 months, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. I break down Chicago real estate market and Chicago's Northside neighborhoods every week. And if you want to talk through your specific situation, what you're looking for, where and how to do it without landing in a bidding war, schedule a complimentary and confidential consultation. The link is in the description. I'm Savic and we'll see you in the next one.